The egg basket miracle. Margaret Grayson sat on her porch, the early April sun casting a gentle warmth over her weathered hands. At 72, she'd seen her share of seasons come and go in the small town of Willow Creek. The rocking chair creaked beneath her as she watched the world wake up, birds chirping, the distant hum of a lawnmower, and the faint clatter of dishes from her neighbor's kitchen. Life had slowed down since her husband, Tom, passed 3 years ago, and with it, so had her energy. Her days blurred into a quiet routine: tea at dawn, knitting by noon, and a nap before supper. But lately, she'd felt a nagging ache in her bones, a fog in her mind, and a heaviness she couldn't shake. "Morning, Maggie," called a voice from the sidewalk. It was Clara, her sprightly neighbor of 68, pushing a cart brimming with fresh produce from the farmer's market. Clara's silver hair bounced with each step, and her cheeks glowed with a vitality Margaret envied. "Morning, Clara," Margaret replied, managing a small wave. "You're up early again." "Got to keep moving, you know." Clara grinned, stopping at the gate. "Bought some eggs today, 2 dozen from Old Man Harper's hens, best in town. You should try eating a couple every day. Does wonders, I tell you." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Eggs? I haven't cooked a proper breakfast since Tom was around. Too much fuss." "No fuss at all," Clara insisted, pulling a small basket from her cart. She marched up the porch steps and plopped it into Margaret's lap. Inside were 6 brown eggs, speckled and smooth. "Start with these. Scramble them, boil them, whatever you like. I've been eating 2 a day for months now, and I feel like I'm 50 again." Margaret chuckled softly. 50, huh? That's a stretch." "Laugh all you want," Clara said, winking. "But mark my words, Maggie, there's magic in those little shells." With that, Clara trundled off, leaving Margaret with the basket and a flicker of curiosity. She ran her fingers over an egg, its cool surface oddly comforting. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to try. After all, what did she have to lose? That morning, Margaret shuffled into her kitchen, the basket in tow. She hadn't cooked much beyond toast and soup lately, but the memory of Tom's Sunday breakfasts, eggs sunny side up, bacon sizzling, coffee brewing, stirred something in her. She cracked 2 eggs into a bowl, whisked them with a splash of milk, and set a pan on the stove. The sizzle filled the quiet house, and soon a plate of golden scrambled eggs sat before her. She took a tentative bite. The flavor was simple yet rich, a burst of nostalgia on her tongue. Clara's words echoed in her mind: high-quality protein, vitamins, low calories. Margaret didn't know much about nutrition. Tom had been the one to fuss over such things, but she felt a small spark of satisfaction as she finished the plate. Maybe this could be a new ritual. The next day, she did it again. 2 eggs, scrambled with a sprinkle of salt. By the 3rd day, she boiled them instead, peeling the shells with care and savoring the firm whites and creamy yolks. It wasn't just the taste, it was the act itself, standing at the stove, tending to herself, that felt like a quiet rebellion against the lethargy that had settled into her bones. A week later, Margaret noticed something odd. The ache in her knees, a constant companion for years, seemed less sharp. She climbed the stairs to her bedroom without pausing halfway to catch her breath. At first, she brushed it off as coincidence, but Clara's voice nagged at her. Energy expenditure, satiety. Could those eggs really be making a difference? She decided to test the theory. That afternoon, she pulled her old gardening gloves from the shed and knelt by the flower beds she'd neglected since Tom's passing. The soil was cool and damp, and as she tugged at weeds, her hands moved with a steadiness she hadn't felt in ages. By the time the sun dipped low, she'd cleared half the garden, her shirt damp with sweat, but her spirit oddly light. Clara stopped by the next morning, her cart rattling with fresh finds. "Well, look at you!" she exclaimed, eyeing the tidy flower beds. "What's gotten into you, Maggie?" Margaret held up the empty egg basket. "Your magic shells, I suppose." Clara laughed. "Told you! It's the protein. Keeps you full, gives you pep. I've lost 5 pounds since I started, and I don't even miss my afternoon cookies." "Weight loss?" Margaret hadn't thought of that. She stepped on her bathroom scale later, ascended to heaven. Her old scale creaked as she stood on it, 175 pounds. She hadn't weighed herself in months, but the number surprised her. Down 3 pounds. She smiled. Maybe Clara was onto something. As spring unfolded, Margaret's days took on a new rhythm. 2 eggs in the morning became her anchor, followed by a walk around the block, then 2 blocks, then 3. Her eyes, once strained by the fine print of her knitting patterns, seemed sharper too. She read the newspaper without squinting, the words crisp against the page. Lutein and zeaxanthin, Clara had said one day, rattling off facts she'd picked up from a library book. Good for the retina, keeps the blue light at bay. Margaret didn't know what that meant exactly, but she couldn't argue with the results. One evening, she sat with Clara on the porch, a plate of hard-boiled eggs between them. The air was thick with the scent of blooming lilacs, and fireflies blinked in the dusk. Margaret peeled an egg, her fingers nimble despite the arthritis that had plagued them for years. "I've been remembering things better lately," she said, popping a bite into her mouth. "Recipes Tom used to make, little stories he'd tell. It's like my mind's waking up." "That's the choline," Clara replied, tapping her temple. "Brain food. Keeps the gears turning. My grandkids say I'm sharper than ever." Margaret nodded, chewing thoughtfully. She'd started jotting down those memories in a notebook, Tom's cornbread recipe, the time he'd danced with her in the rain. It felt good to hold on to them again. By May, Margaret's transformation was undeniable. Her skin, once dull and dry, had a subtle glow, her hair less brittle. "Protein, zinc, selenium," Clara had chirped during one of their chats. "Good for the outside, too." Margaret caught her reflection in the mirror one morning and paused. She didn't look 50, as Clara had boasted, but she looked alive. Her energy spilled into other corners of her life. She joined Clara at the community center, where they taught a cooking class, egg-based recipes, of course. Scrambled eggs with herbs, frittatas with garden veggies, even a custard pie that earned rave reviews. The group, mostly seniors like them, marveled at how simple ingredients could feel so nourishing. "Immune system boost, blood sugar regulation," Margaret explained, parroting Clara's wisdom. She'd even overheard a woman with diabetes say her numbers had steadied since trying the recipes. One afternoon, a man named Henry, a widower with kind eyes and a quiet laugh, lingered after class. "You've got a knack for this, Margaret," he said, holding a slice of her frittata. "Mind if I walk you home?" She blushed, a sensation she hadn't felt in years, and nodded. As they strolled, he mentioned his cholesterol worries, a common refrain among their peers. "Eggs won't hurt your heart," she said, surprising herself with her confidence. "Studies say it's fine for most folks. Antioxidants, healthy fats, keeps the ticker going." Henry raised an eyebrow, amused. "You sound like a doctor." "Just a woman with a good neighbor," she replied, thinking of Clara. Summer arrived, and Margaret's garden bloomed with roses and marigolds, a testament to her newfound strength. "Muscle growth, maintenance," Clara had said, flexing her arm one day. Margaret felt it too, her arms steadier as she carried watering cans, her legs firmer on her walks with Henry. They'd grown close, sharing stories of their spouses, their losses, and now, their small victories. One golden afternoon, Margaret hosted a backyard gathering. Clara brought her famous deviled eggs, Henry grilled vegetables, and the cooking class crew filled the lawn with laughter. Margaret stood at the edge, a glass of iced tea in hand, marveling at the scene. She felt strong, clear-headed, connected, things she'd thought were lost to age. Clara sidled up, nudging her. "Told you there's magic in those eggs." Margaret smiled, glancing at the basket on the table. Empty now, but a symbol of something bigger. "It's not just the eggs," she said. "It's what they started." Clara nodded, understanding. "A little nudge. The rest is you." As the sun set, Margaret raised her glass, her voice steady. "To new beginnings." The group echoed her toast, and she took a sip, tasting the sweetness of a life rekindled. One egg at a time.